This is it.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
all right, cool.
Woo. That's pre-show worthy.
All right.
That's the behind the scenes stuff that we're allowing people a little bit more often to just
No, not yet.
hear about and enjoy and savor the moment when they're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's do a pre-show.
I can.
No, you don't have to whisper or anything, but just,
All right, kids. That's what we call a pre-show here on the Rants of Izzo on Spreely Media, Spreely.com. All things spoken freely in the world of wherever. All right, it's Wednesday. Got the Burn Pit Podcast boys with me. It's awesome. They're in dueling locations. The government just can't be in the same room at the same time. The world would just explode. Holy shit. Burn Pit Podcast is on every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Got some awesome guests going on there. It's good, strong. Have to be ballsy to listen to their content. We fucking love it. All right, let's get some housekeeping done. Don't forget, support the content, support the shows. Scott, Maddie, do you guys have a link? You guys are listener sponsored as well too. Do you have a link where people can go and say, "Hey, I love this show so much, I want to throw these guys some money"?
Yes, we do. We have a link tree. You can find it in our on our Instagram bio at the Burn Pit Podcast on IG. You go to the link tree. We have the Cash App. You can Venmo. You can buy us a coffee. Donate to the show. You can actually suggest who you'd like to be on the show. If you want to be a guest, just email us, hit us up, and we'll review that too.
There you go. Throw them some money. If you're not doing it, throw me some money. Go ahead and rantsofizzo.com, click the donate button, support. There you go. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or wordsmatterpublishing.com and purchase my book to help fund everything that you love us doing on the show here. It's Before the Badge, everything you need to know before you become a cop. Even if you're not a cop, you're like, man, I want to learn more about this law enforcement shit. Buy my book. It'll show you what the job is and how you shouldn't be a fucking drone scumbag. All right, lots to talk about today. We got 1 minute and we're live. Put on your sensitive big boy and big girl pants today. Remember, all complaints can go to Chelsea at rantsofizzo.com. There's not even a website or email set up for that. But Chelsea, she likes to get complaints. If you support, there's a way. If you go to Spreely.com and you really want to complain about me, you can. There's a way to do it. Especially if you wind up signing up for our free social media and complain about me, that's an easy way. The owners will see that like crazy. All right. Spreely.com. Go there. Support free speech. Enjoy it. Stop saying, I support free shit, and then stay on your big fucking platforms and do nothing. Spreely.com, the only place for full, free, your sister's ass speech.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on the show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
All right, good afternoon. This is the Rants of Izzo here on Spreely.com. Hope you guys are having a great damn day. It's Wednesday. What the hell today is? The 5th of June. Happy birthday to Darren, one of my best buds out there, you son of a bitch. She's just somebody that I sent pictures of me on the toilet to. We've had that kind of friendship. All right, gents, Burn Pit Podcast. What the hell's going on today? How are you guys?
What's up, Dominic? How are you, sir? I look
a fucking racist. I've come to that conclusion, and I kind of want to go that direction today. It's good to have Maddie Wack back, so I don't have to sit there and do so much talking. We do talk about this quite a bit, and I try not to be so damn hung up on this black violence stuff. But yesterday it kind of hit me. I was going through content looking for stuff to talk about, and I'm just going to read two headlines. I'm not going to read the stories. I'm going to read two headlines. Black woman allegedly stabs 3-year-old boy to death in random attack outside of a grocery store in a parking lot. That's in Ohio. Out here in Chicago couple, they happen to be, at least the woman is white. I think the guy was white as well too. Assaulted by teens while on a date. Pregnant wife loses baby after she was kicked in the stomach. That's black. There was a mob of teens. It started to swell up inside me, and I'm going to be very, very, very candid. And this is for the sake of being transparent. This is for the sake of being very authentic and showing what the incessant feed of social media does to someone like me. And if you can relate to this, this is why I want to talk about this today. The last time I had this feeling of hatred for the black community was when my father was attacked. When my father was my age, 49 years old. He was duct taped. He was a GM of a very, very well-known electronics giant that was nationwide. It was 5:30 in the morning during Christmas season. 3 black guys rushed him. They duct taped him behind his back, and they took the female to another office, and he was worried they were going to rape her, so he actually ripped the duct tape apart from his hands with a big adrenaline dump, called 911. My father, he's bigger than me, he's 6 feet, I'm 5'7", was seeing him. It was one of the only times I've ever seen him fight back tears. He's in the hospital bed, and we hear the police say it was 3 black guys, this and that. I'm not going to lie, and I'm saying this for context. The first words in my mind were fucking niggers. It's exactly what I said. And I was pissed. I was full of fucking hate. I was full of fucking seething contempt, because that's what Chicago is. Yesterday, after seeing these stories, a black woman stabs a white toddler to death. Black teens kick a fucking pregnant woman in Chicago and she loses a baby. And the nonstop media continues to make excuses, blames white people. It's our fucking fault. And black accountability is at an all-time low as usual. DEI is up. Are they doing this on purpose to stoke someone like me for my hatred, turn me into a racist, all of this? Because I sat there, I had to take a moment back the other day and say, you know what? I need to pray because I'm getting pretty filled up with fucking hatred, and I need to sit there and see what they're doing. Is this agenda planning, or is the black community kind of absolutely lost because this crime is all too common and it's not stopping?
Matt, you want to take this one first?
Yeah. So to your point, Dominic, it's this is what happens when you have multiculturalism, right? Now, the caveat here with America is that there were black slaves living here before the country even got flooded with the plethora of white European settlers, like in the turn of the century. They were already here. However, they were able to live among us and peacefully. They all worked. As a matter of fact, post-Civil War, down south, you could not find white construction workers. They were all black because they outbid the white construction workers. They were all working. The black family was intact all the way through the 1950s. Again, I'm going to give you an example. There was a place, and I forget what state, Kansas or Nebraska. It was a community, and it was called and labeled Black Wall Street. It was called Black Wall Street because the fact that black millionaires and high-income earning black families, black men lived there and thrived. That being said, you then had what was called the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement, because down south you had still that racial injustice with whites not letting blacks sit at the counter, back of the bus, water fountains, even though that was still on its way out and it was becoming less and less prevalent, you still now had the media and certain individuals within the black community that weren't black. They were of another ethnicity. They pushed for this black segregation or black hatred against whites. They infected the government. They were able to use Martin Luther King, who was literally a communist and associated with communists. I can prove this. There are black leaders, black pastors that know this fact and are against Martin Luther King. He worked with the government and to pass the Civil Rights Act. At that point, they were able to basically put blacks back on the plantation through welfare and all these other things that, you know, promote reparations and all this fake racism that they would pump through. You have race hustlers like Al Sharpton, like Jesse Jackson, and now the media pushes that, fanning the flames even further. And it really got a boost in the arm whenever the Rodney King thing came to play. Now, if you say anything factual against the black community, which are responsible for 50% of all the crimes in America, violent crimes. I told you before, Dominic, that the black on white rape, black men rape white women demographic numbers within the FBI Bureau of Crime Statistics was deleted by the Obama administration because it was so prevalent, almost 80%. And the black women being raped by white men was effectively zero. So that being said, if white people do not stand up and not just speak out against this because they are cucked to the point where they are afraid of being called a racist or white supremacist, then we are fucked as a country. White people need to stop fucking accepting this. They need to stop just bitching about it, and they need to take active measures against their local governments and say enough is enough. There is a problem with the black community when it comes to violent crime, and we're not going to fucking take it anymore. And if you try and push this down our throats, we're going to physically fight back. That's just my opinion, but I could be wrong. Go ahead, Scotty Sieverts.
Matty Wack, it's good. It's good to have you here. It's good to have you back on Wednesday. Last Wednesday, I missed you.
It was kind of flavorless last Wednesday. Shit.
This is awesome. Happy Wednesday to you, gents. Matt's right. They've incentivized broken families. They make money off of the system here. There's black couples out there, and I've had multiple black employees that have worked for me that have been in the same relationship for 20 years. They live in the same home with the baby mama. They have 5, 6, 7 kids, and they refuse to get married because on paper, when they're not married, I've had guys that live in the same home that with their baby mama that pay child support to her, even though they live in the same home. She collects all these different welfare or all these different programs that are available to women, and they live in the same home. They use the system that has been created here to incentivize the broken home is part of the culprit on why you see the degeneration of the black communities. These fatherless homes, dads are missing. This is a major problem. So, but to address what you're saying, Dominic, there are times where your heart does get kind of filled with hate sometimes towards certain communities, because how can you not notice? How can you not see once you've recognized some of this patterns of behavior that you see from certain communities? How do you not go, man, there's a problem there? How do you address it with not being filled with hate or not being filled with a certain animosity towards a race? And people say it's not all. Not all.
Oh God.
But it's very prevalent in the community, the violence in these areas, and there is a direct correlation too between poverty and crime. And you see these high poverty areas usually carry with them high crime areas. So what's the solution? What's the answer there? We can discuss that, but to Matt's point too, Matt, you're absolutely correct. There's been an agenda there to push hate. There's been an agenda there to push this, and of course, Whitey's the evil guy there. But Dominic, I feel your pain there. Sometimes I look in the mirror too, and I'm like, man, I
Oh,
got to
I'm
deal with this.
fucking tired of it. I'm tired of it. And they are from their own community, too. They're going to play an audio from an Atlanta police chief who's black, what she said. Privately, you guys, well, you know, public, you guys could just play along or whatnot. Have either one of you guys done trend before?
I'm not familiar with that word.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I've done, has
yeah.
it, okay, so let me ask you a question. Has it, had you have thoughts that you would not normally have? I'll give you an example. I may have looked at things, not just women I would have never had sex with, but things like, I wonder if I augured out a hole in that tree, could I fuck it? Have you ever had, like, has trend ever messed up your mind when it comes down to sex?
I mean, it just boosts it boosts your testosterone level to a different extent. So, I mean, in that point, well, yeah, you're going to become more sexually, active, or you're going to want to have sex more often when your testosterone levels are spiked.
I would have fucked. I would have fucked Whoopi Goldberg on center stage in Times Square with full on face to face, lovingly eye contact. I would have done that. That's how fucked up trend made me. So my question is, I wonder if when you look at black woman stabs 3-year-old, group of black out of control, these are juveniles, they're teens that are committing these crimes. What's the quote drug that's doing this? Because we know food fucks people up, and the amount of just toxic food the black culture lives on from the jokes of Kool-Aid and grape drink to whatever fried food they're eating, it's got to be poisoning and fucking up their system. Alcohol's got to be messing them up. How much of this is the government allowing illicit and illegal drugs being pumped in their streets because they know this is going to happen, and the destroying of their bodies because chemically it's going to fuck their heads up? Is there a correlation between the two of those? Because anytime I'm drunk, it's a weird sensation. Anytime I'm on trend, which I just won't do anymore because it's fucked up my head. Can we blame this on consumption issues?
I would blame it culturally for the most part. I mean, you can make the argument that, would you fuck anything that looked good at the bar from drinking too much? Probably. A lot of guys do that who aren't on steroids. So I would say alcohol consumption would spike it. However, I believe also it's a cultural thing. It's cultural in the rap music, hip hop music. It's all about sex, weed, alcohol. It's all about that. And it's all about kill whitey and, a crime. In that aspect, that is the main culprit in my point, in my opinion. So I don't think it has to do too much with food or anything like that. I mean, I would say cocaine and crack. I don't know what that does to you when it comes to, wanting to commit crimes or commit rape. But I believe it's more of a cultural thing within their culture, promoting it through, the hip hop, all that popular culture, the entertainment industry. And also, since they're never really convicted and they're never in Hollywood and mainstream media, this black crime rate stuff isn't really prevalent. So they don't even think it's a problem because they're not being accused of it in pop culture, in mainstream media. So they sort of get a pass in that aspect. So they don't care because in large, there's no consequences, culturally speaking.
I've always said that when you look at however the black community is portrayed in movies and TV, it's like the Cosby Family. Pristine home, they all dress great. Bullshit. Go down to the city of Chicago, go south of 290, and A, see if you can understand what language they're speaking. B, the style of clothing they're wearing is nothing like what you see on TV, and their behavior is completely not what you see on TV. They almost whiten them, if you will. That's what they're saying. They whitewash them when they get them on TV.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think to Dominic's point, I think that there is something to be said. Outside chemicals in your body can absolutely affect your state of mind and your how you decision making, brain function, things like that. So, yes, what you put in your body. There's that old saying: "You are what you eat." the things that you digest, not only physically but spiritually, mentally, the things that you put into your system will definitely have an effect on you. There's no question about that. And then when you look at rap music, hip hop culture, they glorify this behavior, and these African Americans, they look at guys like Jay-Z or all these different the rappers and things like that are making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they want that. They look at those guys as idols, or somebody they can look to and say, oh, that's a good example. Yeah, I want to be like that. And here they're glorifying drinking, they're glorifying sleeping around, hitting women. Even your Cardi B's and your Nicki Minaj, they're glorifying, sex. Her song that got popular was WAP, Wet Ass Pussy, right? That's a song that got super popular, and it's a degenerative culture. What does it glorify? It doesn't glorify anything good. It doesn't glorify anything that's righteous. It just glorifies degeneracy. And who's look at the top of the music industry. Who's running that? If you look at that and you see who's pushing these narratives and this agenda, there certainly is an agenda to this. And it's a mixed bag. I think it's a mixed bag, and it's been going on now for half a century, if not longer. And black people have become, I don't want to say a victim to some of this stuff, but there's definitely an agenda here. Absolutely.
So we Scotty, you and I talked about this before. Matt hasn't. We're racist though, right? Because if my niece, who's 16 years old, and she's 4'11", maybe not even 5 feet, and she's like 80 pounds, and she wants to go to the city of Chicago, and I go, absolutely fucking not. And if you see a group of black teens walking towards you, walk the other direction, because it's non-stop. We know they talk about domestic violence all the time, but they do not talk about the fact that black men seem to not have an ounce of hesitation when hitting black women with closed fists as an argument, like conflict resolution. We have these black teens kicking a pregnant woman in the stomach because they're on her streets. At what point do we as Americans say, I don't give a rat fuck if you think I'm racist. I'm not letting my loved one go down the city, because this culture of people cannot control themselves. They are violent, they are dangerous, and I'm not taking any chances. Go ahead, fucking cancel me. At what point do we accept that?
Yeah, well, I'm there already. However, you are 100% correct. When I'm going to the ATM by myself late at night, I'm not going to be looking over my shoulder for Nazis. I'm looking over my shoulder for freaking black youth, because they're the ones who commit the crime. Nazis aren't raping and murdering people. Nazis aren't burning down cities and killing cops. Nazis aren't doing this. However, if you say what I'm saying right now and what you're saying, you are called a white supremacist. As a matter of fact, if you don't actively hate white people, you are basically, in their mind, a white nationalist or white supremacist, aka racist. This is what the culture has come now. You know this, Dom, in all these movies, right? Everyone's being played by blacks. If you look at whoever is in an upper, higher echelon role in a commercial, television show, Netflix series, it's always a non-white individual, sometimes female. You never have whites in top tier commanding roles inside Hollywood movies or Netflix series. So to your point, yes. But people, and especially white people, even white conservatives, are too afraid to call this out because they don't want to be called a racist. And especially politicians, they want to be called a racist, and they want to be fucking reelected. So yes, the country are a bunch of fucking cucks because they're too afraid to call out reality. And if reality has to do with race, call me a fucking racist. I'm pointing out facts, and I'm trying to save people, and I'm trying to end this criminal activity within our country, because I do not want another BLM situation in my country where people are murdered and cities are burnt to the ground.
Right. 100%. I mean, do you guys remember the knockout game? Remember that?
Well, who does that? White kids?
Wait, it got born from out of the black community.
Yeah.
That's exactly where it started at. And these were black youths that were going around, and they were randomly sucker punching people, even elderly. You saw it in New York City. They videos of blacks attacking. There was a while there in the news where these news stories stopped eventually, but you saw black youths attacking Asians, and there was a lot of violence against Asians in New York. And this knockout game was going on where these black youths were just randomly sucker punching elderly women, you name it. Who's I mean,
Scotty? That's what I was going to ask you. It's who the fuck does this in their right mind? So all right, I'll be the racist here for a second for entertainment purposes only. Which avenue do I take? Do I take that it's the people online saying, well, the prefrontal cortex of the black community isn't as developed as the white European's brain is? Or do I say, oh, this is generational trauma that's ingrained in their DNA because they don't know where they came from? Unlike me, who can trace my family tree all the way back to Calabria, Naples, and Sicily, they can't do that, right? Or is it, no, well, you know what? Yeah, the sugar converts into acid into their body and it warps their brain. And we know that sugar is one of the most toxic chemicals in the world. And what do they eat? We're pumping down grape drink, fried chicken, all this, introduce street drugs. What the fuck is the answer? Because you have it is males. It's fucking males that are going around. That whole Stop Asian Hate hashtag that the left thought that they would hijack and say this was right. They're finding out it was blacks who were committing the Asian hate at an insane rate. But let's go away. We saw this start 30 years ago when the news would not report, well, on tonight's major news story, a suspect who was 5'8", about 120 pounds, medium build, was seen robbing a store. What fucking color was he? Because you're going to cut what you're looking for in half. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did. At the same point, what do we blame this on? Or do we just say, listen, this is cultural. Culture comes from the language you speak and the way you look. You take your pick of fucking what the issue is.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys remember this year, the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs won. I know Matt's not a big sports baller, but he might remember this story here. When they had the parade for the Kansas City Chiefs, there was a shooting, and it was maybe in the news for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then it disappeared. Well, what's the reason for that? Well, I think Ann Coulter put it best. She was on Bill Maher's show, and they were talking about it, and they didn't know who the assailant was or who did it. And she goes, well, I think we can guess here. Definitely not a white person. And Bill Maher goes, well, why? And she goes, well, if it was, we'd still be hearing about it, and we'd have heard about it right away. We know the guy's name. We'd know his background and everything. Most likely it was probably a person of color. And once that's the case, then they get that out of the news right away. Because if you think about it, historically, it's the only group of people that when things don't go their way, they organize in mass and then they become violent. And you can look back at all the different cases from Michael Brown in Missouri. You can look at, the list goes on, Trayvon Martin, all these different cases that end up not going their way. What do? They go out and they throw a temper tantrum and a hissy fit, and they destroy people's property. It happens. It's only that community that does it. I don't see Asians that organize in mass when there's a high-profile trial, which you can't even think of one off the top of your head, that where an Asian was in a high-profile trial, or even an Hispanic. I mean, the case with Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman was his mom was Hispanic. You didn't see Hispanic people coming to the aid of George Zimmerman in the Trayvon Martin case. But when that verdict came out, there were riots everywhere, across the board, you name it. The Michael Brown story was a big one, too, out in Missouri and St. Louis. What did they do? They just destroyed property. Baltimore, Freddie Gray, they did it there. There's a litany of evidence here to point to and go, there's a cultural problem. George Floyd, yeah, that's the big one, obviously, but you name it. You just go down the list, and they're the only group of people, ethnic group of people that will do that will say, we don't like what's going on. Let's go and destroy our own communities, by the way. In Baltimore, when Freddie Gray happened, what'd they do? They went to their own communities, their own liquor stores, their own convenience stores. They destroyed it. They looted. They stole. I can't think of another group of people that does that. Am I wrong? Where's the lie?
No, there is no lies detected. And here's what. You remember Ruby Ridge and Waco, David Koresh and Randy Weaver. Remember the ATF executed his family, shot him, executed to burn people alive in Waco. Do you remember all the white riots from white people burning down cities? Remember that?
No.
Oh, yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So to your point, Dominic, you said earlier, is it cultural? Well, yeah, it's cultural, but it didn't happen until the quote unquote Great Society welfare state civil rights movement. They didn't do this stuff before, and they were treated worse back then. They weren't allowed to sit in the front of the bus. They weren't allowed to use water fountains or bathrooms in certain areas. They still didn't riot. This is all post Great Society welfare state civil rights movement. Martin Luther King was one of the culprits to this, in my opinion. He was the George Floyd for boomers. And now that being said, yes, Dominic, all of the studies have been done, and this is 100% scientifically proven. Asians and Ashkenazi Jews have the highest level of IQ on average. Whites are in the middle, and then below that is Hispanics, and at the very bottom are sub-Saharan blacks. Black people from Africa, sub-Saharan, are the lowest IQ recorded on average. Does that mean black people can't be smart? No. But low IQ individuals, for the most part, are more willing to use violence and criminal activity to gain what they want. That's just a fact. I am not making this up. I can show everybody these statistics. So yes, it has a lot to do with race. And if you say that, you're a racist. However, there are blacks who say this. If you can watch Jesse Lee Peterson, he's a black podcaster. He comes down on the black community basically every day. And he says the same things that we're saying now. Thomas Sowell has made this prevalent in all of his interviews and speeches and wrote about it in his books. Black community has suffered from the cultural depravity that it was kind of forced upon them in the civil rights movement. This is just a fact. And it's not going to get better until we get rid of all this garbage. We get rid of these the cultural things in pop culture, the rap music. Unless blacks choose to do that again, then whites are going to be forced to either continue to accept it or take active measures against it physically so that they are not killed and raped in mass and their cities aren't burnt to the ground.
Dude, there's studies. While you guys are talking, I'm looking up on studies of the impulsivity control and the difference between different cultures of whites, Asians, and blacks. And there's studies in 2012, going back a while, that show that and I way too much to paraphrase. These studies suggest the results reveal that the black males exhibited greater changes in their within individual levels of impulsivity across time, and that the within individual effect of changes in impulsivity on the changes of externalizing behavior was greater for black males than their counterparts. There's a lot of studies that show this issue. It absolutely blows me away that this is a massive impulse control problem. You talked about a lack of intelligence. Dude, what does a toddler do? When a toddler, I'm not a fucking parent. I babysat for my 4-year-old niece a couple weeks ago. Told my sister, I can't do it, dude. Can't do it. Because she throws a fucking shit fit when I say she can't do something, and it's a tantrum, and she's not my daughter, so I can't discipline her, and the only thing I can do is wait for her to tire herself out. It's fucking exhausting. Throwing shit, snapping towels at the dogs. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? All I want to do is classically condition her because she's being a little brat, but you can't do it. That's what happens when you do not have the proper language to articulate your feelings. You don't know how to externalize what you're feeling or conflict resolution. Well, when you destroy the school system and you show in the black household how violence, and I'll tell you this firsthand as a cop, I've talked about this a million times, black women know how to play the system. Their boyfriend is playing PlayStation, not paying attention to her. She'll call 911. I need the police over here. He's being abusive. Show up, and the guy's like, I'm just playing PlayStation. And I want him arrested. I want him this. dude, you got someplace else to go tonight? They know how to play the system because the guy will be removed. And every time you escorted him calmly out because the guy was fine, you'd see the black women say, oh, look what the police doing to your daddy. All the fucking time. Vilify the police. This is a lack of education system. This culture cannot articulate their issues. They can't express their emotion. Their words, it's like fucking the Tower of Babel. The Bible flat out says everybody spoke the same fucking language when Gilgamesh or fucking Nimrod is trying to build this tower to go up to fucking heaven and defeat God. So what did God do? Change the way they all spoke. 70 different fucking languages. So now you can't communicate. Now you can't understand each other. You ever try talking to a South Side Chicago urban black man or woman? You cannot. It's Cardi B language. You cannot understand them. They confounded us. Now you're going to have police-related issues. Talked about this, how this affects fucking law enforcement. You take some North suburban white kid who thinks that he wants to go be the police, so they stick him in an academy. He moves to the north side. It's nice and white neighborhood. You have non-stop content online showing the black community are fucking savages. And you got the old-timers on CPD who they have no problem using the N-word. They'll tell you how it is what it is. So now you take this white kid, stick him in the black community. All he's going to see is the blacks as a fucking bunch of animals and savages. They're doing this shit on purpose. But out of all that, they're doing it on purpose. The black community still needs to step up and go, holy fuck, are we being played? They're making idiots out of us. They need to stop this shit. They need to stop contributing.
Yeah, I agree. It's accountability. That's what it comes down to, right? Are you accountable for one's own actions at an individual level? Yes, you are. You have the choice. You are accountable to your own decisions. You decide whether to exercise impulse control and self-control. And you're right there. Impulse control is lacking in the black community, and it's evident in the crime statistics and everything else. Domestic violence statistics, like Matt said, some of those rape statistics are actually very frightening when you look at it. It's crazy to see that like 80% of rapes are black on white women, and that's truth. And that's just what it is. Some of these stats are uncomfortable to hear because on the Burn Pit podcast that we do on Spreely TV, Mondays at 4:00 Eastern, I give an opposing viewpoint, and then Matt usually gives the answer. So on the opposing view here, what you'll see, and I have people. I'll use the cliche. I have black friends. Now I talk to some my friends, and I ask them about this. And I say, there's some issues here. How do you deal with this? There's no personal accountability. And they'll say, well, the system's been rigged. The system has been rigged against us, from the beginning. How can we catch up when you guys, had a head start and you've held us back? And it's systemic racism. To me, that's the victim card, right? You look at, and they use an event or events in history to say, this is why we are how we are. When a person that's going to exercise accountability or responsibility says, I'm responsible for my own actions. I'm responsible for the things that I choose to be. I wake up every day and I decide whether or not I want to go to work, or whether to decide whether or not I'm going to be a good dad or a good husband or a good friend, a good man, you name it. So there's personal accountability there. It seems that personal accountability has been shifted, and they can just go, well, the system, the criminal justice system, it's rigged against us. This system's rigged against us. So that's the take that you would hear from anybody defending these statistics, this truth, these facts that you see. Well, the system. And Matt, of course, would say what?
Well, I would just say, well, that wasn't the case pre-welfare state, pre-civil rights movement. The crime rates weren't there. The family was still together. Now you're given welfare. You're given all these civil rights things. You're given affirmative action, I believe, started in the 90s. You're given all these things.
There's a lot of entitlement programs that they take advantage of.
Worse. You've gotten worse. You were given all this free shit, literally, and it has gotten worse. So your argument that the system is rigged, that's a lie, because the facts and statistics prove that is not the case, and history has proven that not to be the case.
I want to play this really quickly. This is a Atlanta's police chief. Get her name really quickly. It just says Atlanta police chief suspended after saying, this is audio. They got her on audio. She's a black woman. I don't have her name here. I'll have to look that up here. But this is her words on an issue here.
In a September 2023 command staff meeting, Chief Beverly Banks complained about disputes between her officers. One of them provided this recording to the Fox 5i team. A second person in the room confirmed what you're about to hear.
I am to the point, I don't want to hire black women no more. I'm to that point. I ain't got no white women beating my door down to come in here and work, but I wish they would, because I don't have these problems. I don't have no Hispanic women. Hell, I don't want them either. Because you know what comes with it? A whole lot of attitude, and I don't want it. I'm the only one with the attitude in this place, me.
In a statement to the Fox 5i team, a VA spokesman said, "There is no place for racism or discrimination at the VA, and these comments are unacceptable." Chief Banks took over the Atlanta VA Medical Center Police Department in late 2022, inheriting an organization filled with complaints involving favoritism and sexism.
Y'all need to get along.
In a September 2023 command staff meeting, Chief Beverly Banks complained about disputes between her officers. One of them provided this recording to the Fox 5i team. A second person in the room.
Oh, that was redundant. So she says the fucking truth, right? So it's a black woman. I'm sorry. Why is it that we can go on TV and all laugh, or the stand-up comics when they talk about their culture specifically? You know, I've said it a million times. Dat Fan, who won the first Last Comic Standing, he won it by mocking his Asian culture, right? And you've got Sebastian Maniscalco, who blew up Italian culture. You know, you talk about the black culture from black comedians, it's okay. But now if you go, hey, listen, yeah, we know that black people talk in a movie theater. We know that if you go to enjoy a movie and it's filled with black people, you're not going to hear a word on the screen. Oh, that's funny. Let's all laugh. All right, now let's say movie sales are down because 90% of the ticket sales are bought by black people, so that means that nobody wants to go see the movies. Oh, you're racist. This police chief said something that was factually true coming from her mouth, and she's being suspended and disciplined for it.
Well, good for her for speaking up, but this is another problem here in the African-American community, is when you have people like a Jesse Peters or a Candace Owens, and there's a lot of African-Americans that stand up and go, hey, there's a problem here in our community and we have to deal with it. What are they called? Uncle Toms. They're right. They're victimized. They go, how could you turn your back on your own community? How could you're siding with the white man? I don't know what the answer is here, because even when they have these figures that stand up and say, hey, something needs to be done, they get attacked. They get called Uncle Tom. And there's a bunch of conservative influencers that are black that speak up. And of course, they get destroyed on social media.
Can I ask a stupid question? I'm going to ask a mathematical, stupid question. The definition of racism used to be that when a culture or a person thought or believed that another culture was inferior to them. This is my question. If one culture refuses to accept facts, if one culture is committing more than half of the violence in America, if one culture has proven factual impulse control problem, if one culture cannot stop shooting each other on a daily basis in their concentrated demographic areas, would that mean that that culture is inferior to other cultures?
I don't know what the actual definition of racism is, but I would say that you are correct. If a culture is inferior, right? I mean, we can take any sub-Saharan or even South American culture that lives in the jungle and eats, poop or whatever. Right? They haven't even evolved yet. Well, yeah, of course they're inferior. I don't think I don't think it has anything to do with racism. That's just a fact, right? You can say that this breed of dog is not as intelligent as this breed of dog. Is that racism? Well, they're not human, so I guess it doesn't matter. It's a fact. You can say that this fish has a higher intelligence than that fish. whatever the case, you can take anything in the nature or the animal kingdom and use it. But as soon as you do it with human beings, all of a sudden you're a racist. And so, yes, Dominic, it's all fucked up. And again, they have hate speech laws, right? Hate crime laws, all this stuff. So now you are penalized legally, and also you can be destroyed on a economic level by losing your job. You can lose relationships with individuals because of the way you speaking these facts, promoting these facts like I do. I don't have to worry about getting fired, but there's other people that do. So they stay quiet because of cultural issues by losing friendships and your job, and legal issues by being charged with a hate crime. So this is why it happens in a predominantly white country where you can't even speak these facts, even whenever you are being raped and murdered by this culture of individuals.
Yeah, I'm with Matt on this one. The question's a fair question to ask. We're all human beings. We all bleed. We all have, we're all from the same gene pool, I guess, so to speak. We're humans. But are you allowed, or should it be fair to say that one culture is better than another? Yeah, why not? That's no problem to me. I'm looking back and I'm thinking to myself on all these different situations where people have gotten canceled or people have said something and they've lost their jobs just for even making a joke. Do you guys remember Don Imus?
Yeah,
he was
nappy-headed host.
Yeah.
He got fired because he called a WNBA player nappy-headed hoe, right? And it was made in jest. It was a comment that was made in jest, but because it referred to the texture of someone's hair, and that texture of the hair, I guess, is apparently linked to African Americans. He was nappy-headed. He got canned for something like that, and it's still going on today. You say the wrong thing about the wrong group of people, and it's mostly whites that will end up getting fired and canceled. Very rarely do you see another ethnic group make a comment regarding another ethnic group, and it gets let go. They give them a pass there. But
so let me know, what's the answer? To use the racial slurs more, to make the N-word great again, to have a great equalizer? I've said this a million times, and every time the black community says we have no power for racism. Excuse me? What culture, what race shut down an entire Starbucks?
Yeah.
The whole Starbucks for 8 hours of racial bias training. What culture was that? That was black. They shut down one of the strongest businesses in capitalism because they weren't allowed to use the bathroom as non-paying patrons. Right. Tell me you have no power. Don Imus, I've said this for years. The two examples who should, three mostly, Don Imus, Richard, the guy who played Kramer on Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah, the comedian.
Right.
Yes.
And who was the white-haired Southern woman who got canceled from her? She used to have like a cooking show, and she got cut.
Yeah, I forget her name.
Right. So Michael Richards did a comedy event back. It had to be late '90s, early 2000s.
Yep.
And he drops the N-bombs a bunch, and then he goes on like not Jay Leno, but somebody else, and he's like, I'm not a bad guy, and this and that. I've said a million times. Michael Richards had the opportunity, and so did Don Imus, because he had the audience to stop this shit, where Richard should have said, hey, you guys are attacking me? All right, so I was given a performance. People paid to see me, and I had two black people heckling me, and I wanted them to shut the fuck up, and they wouldn't shut the fuck up. So what I did was I said the most vile, easily attacking, identifying thing I could think of to get them to shut up so the other people could enjoy the show, and it worked. Don Imus should have sat there and said, do you have a problem with what I say? This is America. It's free speech. You could turn the knob, not listen to me. If you feel so much like the company wants to fire me, go right ahead. He should have done that, but instead he kowtowed. He allowed Reverend Sharpton to sit in his fucking studio with his entourage and have explained to Al Sharpton what's going on. We have too many whites who are afraid of so tell me again, if you're afraid of a culture, how does that culture have no power or authority? Maybe I'm just stupid.
No. You are 100% correct. Whenever it comes down to it, Dominic, honestly, this is not the black culture's fault. It is white people's fault because they're the fucking pussy faggot cunts that accept this and shy away from it and don't use anything, meaning self-defense and what other forms of power or endeavors they could use to fight against this. They don't. This is unbelievable. What people should have done in mass, my group did it, is during these BLM protests and riots, they should have armed up and used violence in self-defense rather than watch their business get burnt to the ground. And if the police officers and judges and politicians are going to sit there and side with this, with the BLM community committing crimes, then guess what? They're fucking next. And the people need to stand up and say that publicly. We're not going to deal with this anymore. And if you politicians want to protect these groups, and if pop culture, you want to protect these groups, and police, if you refuse to enforce the law because they're a certain race, the criminals are a certain race, you're fucking next. Because this is not a fucking suicide pact because of your bullshit fucking civil rights movement. We're going to defend ourselves. And I tell you what, white people might be getting there to where they're fucking getting murdered, raped, and just completely marginalized in the media because of one race or one group or all these other minority groups. White people are going to fucking get fed up pretty soon, and you're going to see some shit happen.
Dude, here's another thing, is you got...
A late morning stroll in the sun Monday was cut violently short. Surveillance cameras on Linder near Montrose show the moment
This is Chicago. It's a fucking 68-year-old woman walking down the street.
Dark sedan screeches into a side alley. As a 68-year-old woman steps into sight, two men leap out of the car and immediately throw her to the ground. The passenger appears to repeatedly bludgeon her with some sort of bat or baton.
One of my coworkers heard screaming from for asking for help from outside.
Christian Zajac says he ran outside to the woman's aid. They'd ripped her purse from her hands as the men dragged her across the sidewalk.
I wish I could have been there a little bit faster.
Zajac helped translate to police for the 68-year-old woman who he says reminded him of his Polish grandmother.
So fucking Polish white woman gets attacked by two black savage animals. Again, this is standard for the city of Chicago. So am I a racist for saying the black community are the most dangerous culture we have in America today? And until this issue is addressed and solved, that we can come to the table and start talking about this, it's never going to be solved. Not, if you want to call me a racist, I'm tired of this. I do not feel safe for any member of my family interacting with any black member of urban Chicago. None whatsoever. I'm a racist, I guess.
I agree. The main problem here is people need to stop giving a fuck to being called a mean name, because that's the number one fucking thing that is the problem with the white community in this country, and conservatives to boot, is being called a mean name. I am about survival and I am about reality. And if people don't want to point it out or call me a racist for pointing out reality, I don't give a fuck. I will fucking kill you if you try and attack me or my family. Scotty Sieverts, go ahead.
Bingo. Both you gentlemen are absolutely correct. We have to stop caring about being called a bad name or how the optics look from the outside. The only thing you should care about is your inner circle, your family, your loved ones, and your friends, and the people in your tribe. Listen, you can call us. You're saying in the call us any name on the book you want to, but the people that know us and the people that interact with us, they know. We don't me and Matt, we don't mistreat anybody. We don't talk down to anybody. We're always polite, but, it's speak softly, carry a big stick. And what you have to do is just stop caring about being labeled a this or an anti-Semite or a racist or a this or a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe or Islamophobe. That's not going to solve anything. Calling somebody a name isn't addressing the issue at hand. And if somebody that addresses an issue in a way that you don't like, and you think if your first thought is, hey, I'm going to call this person a racist, what he's saying is racist. Well, how about this? Is what he's saying actually true? If it's true, then we have to deal with it. We have to address it. And you guys are both right. Call me whatever you want.
I want to just read this really quickly again, too. I kind of want to circle back to this. 3-year-old boy has died in Ohio after a woman allegedly stabbed him and his mother outside of a Cleveland area Giant Eagle supermarket and was being described by officials as a random act of violence. This is the point I want to get back to. Random act of violence. Bianca Ellis, 32, she's a black woman, is now facing aggravated murder charges following the incident Monday in the afternoon of a parking lot of the Eagle, 2064 Lorraine Road in Northside Olmsted. Police identified the victim as Julian Wood and said his mother, 38, Margot Wood of North Olmsted, has been treated for non-life-threatening injuries and is expected to make a full recovery. The Olmsted police were first called to the scene around 3 p.m. Monday regarding reports of a black female dressed in all black stabbing people in the parking lot. Responding officers spotted Ellis still walking around carrying a kitchen knife used in the attack, according to Sergeant Matt Beck. She was taken into custody without incidents while other officers rushed to the aid of the two victims. The boy later died at the hospital. The investigation into the motive of this attack is still ongoing, but everything thus leans toward this that it was a random act of violence. This is it. And this is my point on this is, and I know we lost Maddie. I think he had a bad connection for a second. You could see on Chicago all the time these drugged out of their mind, naked black men and women in the streets running around like they're insane. And it's a joke. It's a fucking joke, right? All right, he comes back. These air quotes, random acts of violence, that's what makes them more dangerous than you just never know what's going to happen. It's not like, well, 73% of all domestic violence victims know their abuser. It's random, but you still have Whitey being like, oh, I'll never judge you. Oh, you have a knife in your hand and you're approaching me? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt until the first or second plunge as the knife is going into my fucking chest because I don't want to be a racist. They are out of control and dangerous, and we have to accept it.
Yeah, and a lot of the black leaders in these African American communities, they're in the victim game. The victimhood game is profitable for them. The Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharpton, they don't really want the solution because the grievance is more important than actually getting the solution. The grievance is worth more. You know, I talked about this one time, I think, on a previous podcast with you, Dominic and Matt. And I asked a friend of mine, I said, hey, when are things square here? You get reparations or when are we even here? Where it's like, all right, this black cloud that is hung over, according to them, that hangs over the country and its history of slavery, which, by the way, over 500,000 white people died trying to end slavery in the Civil War. That never gets talked about. But and there's places in the world right now where slavery is still going on. And every other country on the planet had slavery too. But America seems to have to continue to pay for its sins of the past for some reason. I said, where's the solution? When do we get to a point where it's like, all right, you know what? We're square here. Let's go. Let's have a good society. Let's keep moving. Dude, and he said to me, never. No, never.
What would you do?
The attitude.
What would you do if you're dating somebody and you forgot to take the garbage out once, right? And every fucking month for the next 5 years, I don't feel like sex. I don't feel like having sex tonight because I can't get over the fact that you didn't take the garbage out, in 2007. The fuck is wrong? What would you do? Would you stay? Would you keep trying to atone? Well, no, or even worse. No, I can't do this because my ex-boyfriend, he didn't take out the garbage. Oh, let me try to be a cuck and make up for that. And I'm going to take the garbage out for you so much harder, babe. Would you stay? Or would you be like, fuck this, dude, I'm ending this relationship? At what point does the relationship sever?
Good question. Good. I think it's a fair analogy. At what point do you say, all right, enough's enough here? I don't know how many times I can apologize or how many times we can offer a solution, and you're still holding on to this, and it looks like you're not going to let it go. And here what we have is generations past, where you're looking at the generations of white people now have to pay for something which, by the way, only 1% of the population during
this to my page, so anybody new who comes here.
All right.
Own slaves, and there's also black slave owners too.
Oh my God, huge! Huge. Nobody ever
Yeah.
wants to talk about that.
No,
I think we lost Maddie Wack on that one, but I'm sure he had a ton to say. Yeah.
It's been a fun show today, though, Dominic. Good conversation.
It needs to be had. It needs to be had, and I know if there's anybody I could have it with, it's the Burn Pit Podcast boys. Tell us all what's going on with the show. What do you guys have?
Mondays 4:00 on Spreely TV. Spreely's your home for free speech. It stands for Speak Freely. It's on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire Stick. Also, download the Freedom Hub app right to your phone or smart device. It's all one word, Freedom Hub. Type it in. It's free. It costs you nothing. And you can go on there and check out shows like The Rants of Izzo, The Dump Show, Shannon Joy. There's a bunch of great content on Spreely TV. But I'm recording this Friday is the one I'm recording with AJ Edelman, the Olympic bobsledder from Israel, Israeli Olympic bobsled. That's going to be an interesting one. And then I got Franco Harris's son, Doc Harris, come back on again. Steeler great. That's going to be a good one too.
Very cool. You already know what question I told you to ask him. The bobsled guy. Guys, have a great damn day. Make sure you check out Maddie Wack on Instagram, Scott Sieverts on Instagram, the Burn Pit Podcast on Instagram. Show some love and support. These conversations need to be had. They need to sit there and be put out in the open because otherwise, to go all the way back to the beginning of the show, it's like me. I'm filled with so much fucking hatred, and I think it's being done on purpose so that we'll have. It's hard to be focused if you're confused. And you're full of fucking hate. So don't let it get to you. Guys, have a great damn day. See you tomorrow. Go over to Spreely.com. Do all the things Scotty said and go help somebody today. And if you can't help them, just don't hurt them. See you guys tomorrow.